The Sacramento Kings just keep on winning. 4 straight, this time without their star De'Aaron Fox in Oklahoma City. The Kings maintain their best road record in the Western Conference, and they've allowed their game to do the talking for them. Meanwhile, down outside of the playoff and play-in picture, the Los Angeles Lakers are chirping about wanting the Kings in the opening round of the playoffs. Well, I have a thing or two to say about that right here on Locked On Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily Sacramento Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for another episode of Locked On Kings.
Hello and welcome into Locked On Kings, your podcast hub for Sacramento Kings coverage all regular season long. My name is Matt George. I have the privilege of being your host here. I'm a Sacramento sports reporter and producer for ABC 10, and I'm recording at my home studio. Got to watch the game from home tonight. Don't usually get to do that, and I'll be honest with you, I was fairly distracted because I was on kid duty. In fact, I have to speak a little bit quieter than I normally would after a Kings win because on the other side of that wall is a sleeping 18-month-old. So my wife will kill me, and I'll kill myself if we wake him up. That's why I had to go to my car to say what I really wanted to say about the report from Brian Windhorst of ESPN that the Los Angeles Lakers want the Sacramento Kings in the opening round of the playoffs. And maybe I avoided waking my son up by being in the car, but I also might have woken up the entire neighborhood.
Oh, Los Angeles Lakers, 12th place. Los Angeles Lakers. You think that you're in a position to say that you want to play the Sacramento Kings in the opening round of the playoffs. You think that you're in a position to say that you want to play anyone in the opening round of the playoffs. And you think anybody outside of the national media cog that seems to care only about the Los Angeles Lakers and put them on national TV over and over again and cram them down our throats, you think anyone cares who you want in the playoffs? You got to make it there first, baby. Hell, you got to make it to the play-in. And when you get to the play-in, why don't you worry about more than likely having to win back-to-back games, likely on the road, before you get to the playoffs, and then start talking about which team is going to beat you in 4 or 5 games in the opening round of the playoffs. The Sacramento Kings aren't afraid of you. You want the Kings? Come on at us. It would be so poetic justice. I'm not saying I'm rooting for you, Lakers, but I certainly would not be opposed to having the Kings returning to the playoffs for the first time in 16 years. Their first opponent with home court advantage is the Los Angeles Lakers, and they wipe the floor with them. I welcome those storylines because that's exactly what would happen. I don't care about the experience of legendary LeBron James. I don't care about Anthony Davis if he can even play and pick up a basketball for longer than 20 minutes without completely falling apart, and the rest of the depth that Lakers team has. Sure, they improved at the trade deadline. They're not at the Sacramento Kings level. So bring it on. You want the Kings in the playoffs? Come on. But you have a long way to go. The Sacramento Kings at this point in time are more worried about the teams that are actually in the playoff picture. The teams around them, like the Denver Nuggets, like the Memphis Grizzlies, like the other way better team from LA that just scored 175 points on the Kings, and the Kings still beat them on the road. Yeah, that's who the Kings are worried about. Lakers, you just worry about barely creeping and sneaking in, especially now that LeBron James is out with injury probably for the next week or two. Look, I understand the Lakers, and I understand any team wanting the Sacramento Kings in the playoffs. The Kings are the team with the least amount of experience. If you're going through the playoff picture, the Sacramento Kings are the team that sticks out like a sore thumb. Except I'm telling you, any team that says they want the Kings and the team that does get the Kings in the opening round of the playoffs, you are in for a rude awakening. This team has nothing to lose. They have nothing to fear. They're playing with house money. They're the best offense with the best offensive rating in NBA history. And if you think any of these defenses in the Western Conference, and the vast majority of them are not top defenses in the league, maybe playoff basketball and playoff defense is a little bit different. I expect the physicality to be a little bit different. But that stage is where the stars shine brightest. And De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis and this Kings roster, this Kings team who has clicked quickly and knows how to win together, they're not going to just go down without a fight. They're not going to be easy pickings for anyone in the Western Conference, and certainly not the Los Angeles Lakers, who aren't even in the playoff picture at this point in time. It was hilarious to me that the Lakers think that anybody outside of the national media cogs who claim they watch basketball but really only watch the Lakers and those who shove the Lakers down our throats every single night on national television, it's funny that they think that anybody outside of them cares about what the Los Angeles Lakers have to say about the playoffs or who they want in the playoffs. Kings ain't worried about you, and I guarantee you all other teams in the playoff picture right now are not worried about you. LeBron James, absolute legend, the GOAT, the scoring leader, phenomenal player, of course, not afraid of him. Kings aren't afraid of him. The Kings know that they can beat LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and the rest of that Lakers roster. The Kings are a better team than them. The Kings are a better team than a lot of teams with the experience in the Western Conference. You're damn right I'm feeling myself, and maybe I'm getting too big for my britches talking about a team that hasn't been to the playoffs for nearly 2 decades, that hasn't been to the playoffs since I was 12 years old. But I don't care, because this Kings team has earned the swagger that they showed. They win again tonight, this time without De'Aaron Fox. Granted, it was against the Oklahoma City Thunder. By the way, the Oklahoma City Thunder is a team that's just barely below the Lakers in the standings. So if the Kings are going to wipe the floor with the Thunder on the road, I know Shai Gilgeous-Alexander didn't play. De'Aaron Fox didn't play in this game, and the Kings handled their business. So again, Lakers, I'm never going to say I'm rooting for you, but if you make it, congratulations. If you have the unfortunate consolation prize of facing the Sacramento Kings in the opening round, good luck. Because if you think that you want the Sacramento Kings, you're in for a rude awakening. This team is good now. They're going to be good tomorrow. They're going to be good in the future. And they are ready to prove that they belong in the playoff picture and a team that should not be taken lightly in the playoffs. If any team that's actually in the playoff picture, if the Denver Nuggets or the Memphis Grizzlies or any other team that's actually in the playoff picture, if you want to start talking about facing the Kings in the opening round, you know what? Let's have that conversation. Lakers, let the big boys talk. You worry about what you're doing down there in the cellar of the West. You worry about getting to the play-in, and then maybe, just maybe, we'll start to listen to what you have to say about the playoffs. You know what, Lakers? I should thank you. For the second time this week, I should thank you. You helped the Sacramento Kings out by coming back and beating the Dallas Mavericks on the road and helped the Kings in the standings. I appreciate you there. Thank you very much for that. And I should thank you again tonight for giving me a wonderful belly laugh, for giving me excellent content for the Locked On Kings podcast, and just overall making me feel better. Because look at where we are, ladies and gentlemen. We are basically in March now of 2023, and the Sacramento Kings are sitting pretty at the top of the Western Conference, or near the top of the Western Conference, well on their way to clinching and securing a playoff spot, while the Los Angeles Lakers are the team in the play-in picture, and the Lakers are talking about the Kings. The Lakers are talking about the Kings. It's not the Kings talking about the Lakers like we've been doing in Sacramento for years here, right? It's the Lakers talking about the Kings. What a glow up for Sacramento. Except that's like your ugly ex-girlfriend talking about you at this point in time, because the Lakers, you need to glow up yourself. You need to figure out how to play playoff basketball and even get there before the Kings are going to worry or give a damn about you.
Well, while Carmack catches his breath, I'm happy to tell you that today's episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. We're past the midway point of the NBA season, and it's the perfect time for you to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. So it's like the Kings making the playoffs. Playing with house money. If you lose, you get money back to keep on playing and keep on making money. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, super easy to use, super fun to use, and you can bet on everything from the money line to point scores and even threes drained. Plus, FanDuel lets you combine your bets for a chance at bigger payouts with same game parlays. So you can take the Kings beating the Oklahoma City Thunder, the point spread of that. You could take Keegan Murray hitting over 3.5 threes, combine them for an even bigger payout. Use that Kings knowledge, that NBA knowledge, or really any major sport knowledge to make yourself some money. Don't miss the chance to get your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, let's worry about reality, not the fantasy land of the Lakers making the playoffs. Let's focus on the reality of the Sacramento Kings continuing to win and doing so in Oklahoma City. They have won every single game 2 of these 2-game series that they've had throughout the regular season. They've won every single one. They kept that up tonight. They sweep the both games on the road. They go 3-0 during this little road trip on the road. They are 4-0 since this playoff race started after the All-Star break. The Kings are hitting the ground running, and they're doing so without De'Aaron Fox, who missed this game with a sore wrist. Apparently, he had an MRI. All the results were negative, meaning good, like not positive. So he's fine, and he's, I think, listed as day to day, so he might be able to return on Friday. Hopefully, he is able to return on Friday in a huge game inside the Golden One Center against the Los Angeles Clippers. Then on the second night of a back-to-back, I think the Kings have the Minnesota Timberwolves the very next night. So some big games coming up. Hopefully, De'Aaron is available for that. But as the Sacramento Kings have shown, and I don't care that it was against a Thunder team that's in 13th in the West. I don't care that it was against a short-handed Thunder team. That team still plays hard, and the Sacramento Kings handled their business. All wins count the same. You can put as many asterisks next to it as you want to, but the Kings handled their business shorthanded, beating the Thunder 123-117 tonight. And I was looking for a guy or two to step up, of course, with De'Aaron being out. You could look at Davion Mitchell, who gets the start at the point guard position. My pick was Kevin Huerter, who's been in and out of a slump as of late, right? Well, Kevin Huerter, Davion Mitchell, the entire Kings starting lineup delivered in tonight's game. Let's just go through these 5 starters. We'll start with Harrison Barnes, and I'm going to talk a lot more about Harrison Barnes and his future with the Kings here coming up in just a little bit. 29 points for HB. He was aggressive. He was attack-minded. He knew what was at stake and what the Sacramento Kings needed from him. He delivered with a 29-point performance, 8 of 13 shooting, 4 of 5 from three-point range, 9 of 10 from the free throw line, also had 9 rebounds, 3 assists. Harrison Barnes was simply fantastic. And look, this is what Harrison provides you. Every once in a while, he's going to have a performance like this. Most of the time, he's going to be his consistent, solid 14, 15, 16 points per game, Harrison Barnes, that you can just rely on and count on in both the locker room and on the floor every single night at the wing position. That's already valuable enough. But when he explodes and has nights like tonight, when the Kings need it from him, when he hits big shots, and he's done this consistently throughout the season, even when De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis were healthy and playing, Harrison has hit big shots or come up with key moments to either turn the tide of a game or recapture momentum or stop opponents' momentum or stop a run. Harrison has been so important for the Kings throughout this year. No different here. 29 points tonight. Then you look at Domantas Sabonis, 22 points on 8 of 10 shooting, uber efficient for him. 13 rebounds, 9 assists. Once again, flirted with a triple-double, but just did not get there. He's missed triple-doubles by like 1 or 2 assists or 1 or 2 of a specific number at least 5 times this season. He should be in the double digits and triple doubles. He just hasn't been there yet. He doesn't care about that. He only cares about winning. Kevin Huerter, who is the guy that I was labeling and hoping he would have a big game, shows up with 20 points on 8 of 14 shooting, 2 of 6 from three-point range. Love this, though. 9 assists from Kevin Huerter. So you're missing De'Aaron Fox. And I know De'Aaron's not a pass-first point guard. He's more of a scoring-first point guard. But as a primary ball handler, we know how much De'Aaron creates for his teammates. Well, Kevin did a fantastic job of distributing. He's done that a number of times throughout this season, as has Malik Monk. It's great to see the 2 guards picking up for and handling a lot of that distribution, especially in a game when De'Aaron Fox is out. And then we talk about Davion Mitchell, who had one of his best games in a long time, getting 15 points out of Davion Mitchell. Yeah, you better win that game. A super efficient 6 of 10 from the field, 3 of 7 from three-point range, also had 4 assists, a steal, a blocked shot. We saw that defense, that typical off-night patented defense that we're used to seeing at times from Davion. I give him so much credit. I'm so proud of him because, of course, we've been extremely critical, and I don't think there's anybody on this Kings roster that we've been more critical of this season consistently than Davion Mitchell, because we know he's capable of playing way better than he's played throughout this season. And a game like this, where I don't expect him to score 15 points a night, I don't expect him to play 32 and a half minutes a night. But if you cut his minutes in half to 15 and cut his scoring to like 8 or 9 with also the distribution and the defense, hits a couple outside threes like he did in tonight's game, It's hard to ask for more from Davion than that, and he's capable of delivering that. Malik Monk, since exploding in Los Angeles, he struggled in these couple of games in Oklahoma City, gave you 7 points off the bench. Trey Lyles was really aggressive with 9 points off the bench. The bench didn't do too much in this game. That's fine. All 5 starters finishing in double figures. All 5 starters stepping up when you needed them to, especially offensively, to still score 123 points in a game where your leading scorer, De'Aaron Fox, who's been on a streak of 7 straight 30-point games, and 9 of the last 10 games he's played, he scored 30 or more points. Yeah, that's extremely impressive. And again, that just speaks to the offensive firepower that this Kings roster has top to bottom. We saw good, solid team basketball in this game. This looked like a veteran team. This looked like a team that didn't lack the experience of playing on this stage, didn't lack the experience of playing in a playoff race, doesn't lack the experience of playing in the postseason. This looked like a team that knew that, okay, we're down our big guy, but we know we can overcome it, and we especially should overcome it in a game like this against an Oklahoma City Thunder team that's not only shorthanded themselves, but that we know we are better than. Love what I saw from the Sacramento Kings as a team in tonight's game. Let's talk more about Harrison Barnes, because I shared with you, if you listen back to this offseason and even the end of last season, I talked about, spent a lot of time talking about keeping Harrison Barnes versus trying to move him in the offseason. There are a lot of people here in Sacramento, including prominent media members, that thought the Kings had to get value for Harrison Barnes when they could maximize his peak value. Who knows if this was going to be a season where he would still have the trade value at the trade deadline that he's maybe had in past trade deadlines or during this past offseason. And I understand their point completely. And the Kings are not completely out of the woods yet, right? There still is a chance that the Kings lose Harrison Barnes to free agency this offseason, and they lose their starting wing. They lose an extremely important player that I'd say every single playoff team would be happy to have on their roster. There's a risk that you lose that for nothing. And how do you replace that? Well, it's a risk that Monte McNair took to not trade him, not just this offseason, but to not trade him at this trade deadline, which was the absolute right decision, given the position that the Kings are in. And it's a gamble that I think is, one, going to pay off, and two, it's the right move to make. If it doesn't work out, it sucks and it's painful, right? But I don't know if Monte McNair could have made a better decision at this point in time. Like, hindsight is 2020, of course, and maybe we'll reevaluate this at the end of the summer when Harrison Barnes has made a decision. But speaking of that decision, like, to me, Harrison, what situation is he going to go to that's better? Sure, he could go and join like a super contender, maybe like a Milwaukee Bucks, which he wouldn't because Chris Middleton and Giannis Antetokounmpo are there, or maybe the Boston Celtics, which Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Well, he could play the 4, but you get my point. He could go to a super contender to try and just secure a ring and maybe take less money in order to do that. Or he could stay in Sacramento, probably get paid well, hopefully not massively overpaid. There might be a slight overpay just based off the fact that it's the Kings, and be an important part of a hopefully perpetual playoff team. Harrison still has, I think, 4 to 5 more really good years to give. And if he signs a 4-year deal for the Sacramento Kings, I don't know what that number looks like. I'm confident and comfortable paying him $12, $15 million a year. Maybe that's too much. You tell me. You let me know. And again, we'll all reevaluate this when we get to the offseason. But if I'm Harrison Barnes, the Sacramento Kings gambled to keep me, to make this position, to make the Kings more attractive for me to stay here, not just as someone who is now deeply ingrained in the Sacramento community, not just someone who has his family here and a very young child here. Those of you that don't know, his baby was born the exact same day as my son was. In addition to that, think about the position that he's in. Probably his final major contract. We'll find out if he's seeking money or he's seeking winning, but it makes sense that he would want to try and get another ring. I don't know if Sacramento is the best route to get another ring necessarily, but it's probably the best route for someone to eventually compete for a ring and still have a prominent job while also getting paid your market value, or maybe even a little over your market value. I think it would be very smart for the Sacramento Kings to pay what is needed. Now, don't go overboard. Like, you don't have to outbid everybody else and really outbid yourself by making a ridiculous offer that is more than what he's worth. You don't have to pay him as much as Vlade Divac's paid him, because I don't think he's worth those over $20 million a year. Could be wrong. I just don't think he's worth that. But it would be more than the right decision for the Sacramento Kings to find a way to appropriately bring him back. And I think it would be more than in the best interest of Harrison Barnes, who clearly is very important to this team, who likes being here, who is having a lot of fun with this group, to want to stay here. I think it was the right gamble for Monte McNair. We'll see if it pays off. But at this point in time, if it doesn't work, it would sting. It would suck. It would be frustrating. And it would be concerning how the Kings fill that gap. Maybe Keegan Murray is that guy at the 3 and they go out and get another 4. I have no idea. That's a problem that hopefully we don't even have to worry about. But if it ends up happening, I won't heavily blame Monte McNair or be angry at Monte McNair for taking the gamble, making the right decision, in my opinion, that he has made to keep HB here. Let me know what you think about that. Let me know what you think about this Kings win tonight. Let me know, of course, what you think about the Lakers talking about wanting the Kings in the opening round of the playoffs. You can email me, mattgeorgesports@gmail.com, or leave your thoughts in the YouTube comment section down below. Tomorrow on Locked On Kings, I'm going to be joined by a good friend of mine, someone that I know a lot of you listen to. If you're fans of D'Lo and KC, ESPN 1320, Damian Barling is going to join me. We're recording in the morning. We'll release that episode in the evening, so I hope you will tune in for that. And then, of course, on Thursday, I, as usual, will be on with D'Lo and KC, and for those of you who watch consistently, you know that I like to try and do bits and have a little bit of fun. And I have one thing in mind. I have no idea if it's going to work. It might fall horribly on its face, but I'm probably going to do it. And I'm looking forward to doing it. I always look forward to going on that show, whether I can be silly or just talk Kings basketball with them. So to have D'Lo here on Locked On Kings before he does his live show, 4-hour show, by the way, on Wednesday tomorrow. He's going to join me, so I'm really excited about that. Hope you will join me for that. And of course, if you're going to the if you're going to the Sacramento Kings game on Friday against the Clippers, first off, I would love to see 18,000 people back in that building, like they had against the Trailblazers last week. And if you're going, let me know. Would love to chat with you. Would love to see you. You can let me know where you're going to be at. I'm at the top of section. It's like 105, 106, the media area up there. You can always come by during the game or during halftime. Hopefully I'm there and say hi. And I would love to see you. I really appreciate your support as always. Can't wait to have you join me on the next episode of Locked On Kings. Until then, my name is Matt George. You have been listening to the Locked On Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.